And definitely like when we knew we had Thomas Lennon, our instinct was to write more for him. So we had more dialogue.
His biggest note after the reading was, I think it would be more funny and more fun to play if Hank was just a demon the whole time and struggles and is trying to communicate, but is struggling to communicate.
I mean, Tom said, I think it would be more fun for me as an actor. And the instant thing was like, whatever you want, man. Like whatever.
Yeah.
You want to play this whole thing as a house cat, then Hank's a house cat. Whatever you want, dude.
The search of the 3 missing Montgomery College students continues in Frederick County.
And I got to play with your wand. It was great.
Yeah, you did.
Definitely fuck.
Keep going.
Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Footage Foreplay. And we are joined by the awesome team of The Weekend at the End of the World. Hey everybody.
Hello.
How's it going, you guys?
Yeah, so we have Cameron, Clay, and Gil. I just learned how to say your name. I kept saying Gilly. I said, I say? Guile. The same Street Fighter. But I didn't get it. So I'm glad Evan got it right. But start with you, Gil. How are you?
I'm very well, guys. Thank you so much for having us. Thanks for bringing some attention to our movie.
Oh yeah, and I heard absolutely. The turnout was great here at Another Hole in the Head. Were you there? Who was all there?
All 3 of us were here. Were there?
Oh, you were. Oh, how was it? How was the turnout and everything?
Oh, it was great.
The reception.
It was awesome. Cameron and I are both from the Bay Area, so it was kind of a homecoming of sorts.
Oh.
So we got to go out there and have some friends and family as well come in and attend. So it was, obviously great vibes, and everyone heckled us appropriately as family and friends can do. So yeah, it's a blast. It was awesome.
We got to get y'all out to Unnamed Footage Festival one year. The fest we run out, it's in the Bay Area, and it's exclusively in-world camera films. So it's found footage, screen life, POV, mockumentary, those kind of movies. And I think
we fall into that category, but I'm glad to attend.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I looked through your guys' filmography a bit, and I think Cameron, you have been involved in it's called the Bigfoot Project, I think.
Yeah,
a mockumentary.
Yeah, I produced the Bigfoot Project, which the writer-director was actually our first AD on this movie, and the first AD was our line producer on this movie and our same sound guy. A lot of the same.
Okay.
That was like one of the first movies I worked on with all those guys, and then we had such a great experience and stayed friends that I work with them all the time, including my most recent movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to have you guys come hang out one year, and of course, if you ever want to venture into some in-world camera with one of your future projects, we'd love to have it too. But
totally. I mean, hey, if you guys want to stream Bigfoot, I'm sure the guys would be into it. I mean, it's a 10-year-old movie at this point, but
but we do that. We do repertory screenings and stuff. Yeah, so
okay, cool,
absolutely. Terrell, I'm sorry I got excited about the
that's perfect.
in-world camera there, but
yeah,
go ahead with your intro.
They'll intro each other. So, Gil, I was starting with you. So, intro you. Where is this talk about where this came from, where you started, and all that good stuff.
Yes, my name is Gille Klabin. I co-wrote and directed and did the visual effects and co-produced with these chaps. This is my second feature film. And I got involved, early doors. Basically, Clay and I had made some short stuff, and we really loved doing comedy together. Clay is one of my favorite actors to work with, and we were doing some shorts, and I think Clay can probably speak to it more, but I think he was considering changing career, and I just thought, right, well, while I have this gold dust, I'm just going to compel him to be an absolute masochist and make a feature film with me before he throws in the towel. And so we started writing this film, and it was always designed to be something super small that we would shoot within our own means and shoot it over weekends. And we started writing it, and the script was so good I didn't want to rush it, so we just kept doing iterations of it. And as it got bigger and bigger, I reached out to Cameron, who I knew initially as an actor, but had become quite a prolific producer. So I was reaching out to him for some producing guidance, and he read the script and he connected with it, and then he said, look, I want to produce it, but I'd also like to act in it. And then second Cameron got involved. Both of our trench fellows, the people we make a lot of stuff with, sort of two families collided, and we just threw everything we had at the project, and it kind of blew up to something way bigger than we'd ever hoped for, while still being a very low budget, sort of crafty little movie. But yeah, it became the movie you watched.
Timeline wise, when did you start writing this? Like before you made The Wave, or was this after?
So The Wave came out beginning of 2020, and Clay reached out to me. Clay and I had done a short together probably at this point 13 years ago, something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of my favorite things I'd ever worked on, and Clay's too. And so he sent me a bunch of scripts to do these shorts, and in 2021 we started working together. And I was in the process of, trying to follow up my first film and taking meetings and pitching on big expensive things. And the problem with those is that they're so slow moving. You're sort of waiting forever. And I'm a big nerd who knows how to write and shoot and edit and VFX and everything. So I wanted to do something where I wouldn't have to ask for permission. So Clay and I started writing this probably at the end of 21.
Okay.
And then, we had like a good version that started getting people excited. And then the writer's strike hit, and then all the people promising financing all kind of bottomed out. So again, it was a weird holding pattern for a while. And then I think it was probably June last year, we had a chat, and we were just like, I think we should just go back to what we initially planned on doing, which is just doing it ourselves. And the weird thing with these projects is once there's momentum, that's when everything sort of like connects to it, and the train really leaves the station. And so we decided in June to shoot it, and by the end of September, we were shooting this much bigger, much wilder version of the movie.
Hell yeah! Well, I feel like it works out too, because I feel like if you had gotten, I don't know, too big with this movie, it wouldn't have been the same. Like, you would have got way too many notes. You couldn't have made nearly as crazy of a movie as you guys did. And I think that's what makes it, I don't know, so good. And what it is, is that you're able to go wherever you want with it, and kind of, that's cool. And I haven't seen The Wave, but it seems very, like, stylistically sort of different, and like tonally sort of different.
I didn't write The Wave, but it was written very much for me. And so there's a lot of, I come from low budget music videos, so there's a lot of fun visuals and like a lot of kinetic movement. And it was, you can see my fingerprints on both the films, again, because I love doing this stuff, and I play with pixels. So like there's a lot of my visual language on it. But that's really like my strength is, I guess, sort of strong visuals and these kind of lo-fi VFX. So we tried to take what we had and lean into our strengths and work within the means that were afforded to us.
Makes total sense. I've been meaning to watch it. I met Carl at Chattanooga, I think 2023. I had a short that played there, and I hung out with him briefly. But I've been meaning to check it out, so I need to do that now. But how'd you meet Cameron? You said you reached out to him for production notes and stuff on this. How did that relationship like begin?
I met Cameron. I was working on some very, very, very bad movie back in 2010 as in the camera team, and one of the actors in the movie was friends with him. I mean, yeah, it's called Wedding Day.
Okay.
And it was truly an exercise in thinly veiled hubris and arrogance. I mean, it was like,
oh my god,
a film written by 20 actors who essentially wanted some showreel pieces, and they tried to sort of like force it into this storyline, which was not cohesive and not good. But I got to practice making a movie because, the director was more interested in swanning about on set and shouting action and cut, irrelevant of the fact that the first city is meant to, actually shout the cut there. But so I got to practice making a movie on somebody else's dime, even if the movie was absolute trash. But I met Cameron, and, you realize very quickly when you meet people in LA, there's people who came out here for weird reasons, sort of like, daddy issues or some desire to be famous. And then there's
Not
people who
daddy
came
issues.
out here, not limited to daddy issues, but that's a big player, I've noticed.
Yeah.
but yeah, Cameron was very obviously somebody who was here to work and to make stuff. And I had him act in a little pilot I made back in 2012, I think it was 2012. And we just stayed in touch because he's a great actor, and also he's a maker. You know, he's somebody who goes out and does stuff. And then I saw that he was still doing that. I think I saw a post of him at a fundraiser for an animal sanctuary or something, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, like-minded and similar work ethic. So I reached out to him just because we were in the throes of chatting with different, you know, supposed financiers and funding bodies, and I wanted to pick his brain as somebody who'd been producing a lot more than me, because I basically produce because I have to, not because it's something that, you know, my heart is just drawn to.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just chatted, and, you know, a lot of my sensibilities with this came from something I knew to be achievable. I wanted to make a movie that genuinely would not cost a lot of money, but its sort of small budget would not hamper our ability to tell a really fun, interesting, compelling story. That was, you know, equally an artistic endeavor and a business endeavor. Like, make a genre movie, because genre audiences are, you know, ravenous and forgiving, and lean into our strengths, which is basically stylized comedy. Yeah. And I think Cameron probably gets approached to do 10 films a day. And I think he saw that we'd actually considered a realistic execution of the movie that wouldn't result in some shitty story of compromise, and it got his imagination going.
I mean, you guys walk the tightrope really well of the horror comedy, and I think we talk about a lot of horror comedy movies on this podcast, and I feel like we tend to lean negative on a lot of them just because it's such a hard thing to pull off and balance. You know, like it usually comes off as like too much of one or the other, you know, or just a totally wacky feeling balance. But you guys do a good job with that. And I think you also, you know, talking about how low the budget is, it doesn't feel that way when you watch it. Like all the effects and stuff you do, especially once they go like through the portal, it feels like you're punching way above your weight class there. And
that's
you know,
wonderful to hear.
You had done some effects previously. I saw you had worked on Something in the Dirt, which I love Benson and Moorhead's stuff. And so what's your kind of...
Unfortunately, in that as well, I'm one of the talking heads.
Oh, okay. I didn't recall that. I'm going to have to rewatch it and look for you now. That's cool.
I didn't know you were in that movie. Justin and Aaron are great, by the way. I like them.
Oh, they're wonderful guys, and they're, you know, they have, I think, a T-shirt for the company that says "Make Movies with Friends," and
they do. Yeah,
there's never a truer sentiment. Like, you really, it's the central commodity, the driving force of all these things. I really think is passion. Like, you got to be working with people who do this because they love it.
Of course,
the hours are unforgiving. The money's never going to be enough. So you just got to do it because you love it, and you can't not do it. Really,
absolutely. And I think finding friends who, like you said, are doing shit, because like the thing is, you can find a lot of people, I feel like, in the industry who, you know, have good ideas and have skills, but like you need people who will actually do things, who are motivated and who are like go-getters and who finish stuff, you know? And I think Cameron's a perfect example of that. I could see how he'd be an asset, because you've produced, Cameron, like tons of stuff and a lot of comedy specials. So it made sense that they came to you for that. I saw you did Neil Brennan's last year. That was one of my favorites of last year of the specials. And I think Matt McCusker's too this year was like Cameron, maybe his best written stuff. But go ahead,
Cameron, let's talk to y'all. Y'all been quiet. So Cameron, where did you get your start? Evan, you keep talking about this guy. All right, Cameron, let's get into you. So where did you get your start? So listeners who don't know you can get an idea of what you do, and then we'll move to Clay. Let's start.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I was a child actor. I did a lot of theater and commercials and a couple movies and things. And my whole family's in the business, and I kind of always was on that path. And I moved to LA when I was 20. I was in college for a couple of years, and then I came down, and every intention of being an actor, of course, but I knew I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to create. Didn't really know what that meant or how that worked. And so I kind of just started doing it with some friends and, you know, making YouTube videos and short films, the same, you know, pretty standard path. And then I realized that in order to execute the things I wanted to make, I had to learn how to produce them. So I was, just producing my own stuff. And then that led to friends asking me to produce their short film or their web series. And then that led to doing a little more legitimate production work. Like I was a production assistant on like tons of music videos and commercials. And I did 2 seasons of Hell's Kitchen back in 2008.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then that led to, just working my way up in the production world. I was a coordinator. I got on a $1.5 million union feature, which was the first time I saw like real paperwork and real, producing. And then my first movie that I was like the line producer was The Bigfoot Project. And that was, a tiny budget where it was all friends just kind of figuring it out. But then basically, I was always writing and acting, and I would put up plays and I would book things. I did commercials here and there. I was always staying creative, but I made my living in production.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I just kind of realized, I can make a living doing this, and it's way less heartbreaking than the ins and outs of, acting and writing and directing. So I just kind of put all my focus towards producing, and then really worked my way up in that world. And, again, commercials, music videos, branded videos, coordinator, PM, worked my way to line producer. And then, I got linked up with the comedy special world and started, worked my way up in that world as well. And then I've been line producing and producing specials for the last 5 years. And I would still do creative things and write and pitch, but it wasn't ever, or not ever, I should say, that recently it hadn't been part of really what I was doing. It was just kind of like side, okay, when I'm home and I have time, I'll work on my script or whatever.
Yeah.
But obviously that's my background. That's what I really want to be doing more so than the producing side. So I had booked a commercial like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I act. That's a thing I do. So I've been kind of wanting to do something, looking for something. The projects that I was writing, I was like, oh, maybe I'll write something for myself. I don't know. And then when Gil called, it was like perfect. I hadn't talked to him in a long time, but the thing that we had done together back in 2012, I always really loved, and I knew he was so creative. And so when I read the script, I was like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. And I was like, hey, maybe what if I play this role too? And they were like, oh yeah, maybe. And then
Oh, so it's like full circle. He did mention earlier how he just loved working with you all these years ago, and then y'all came back together, and it's like y'all. This movie is great, by the way. It's funny. I'm not usually, if you ask Evan, I'm not usually into these kind of movies. I like just heads getting chopped off, but this was great. I was loving the little back and forth, the camaraderie between the two characters. I don't know, I loved it. The girl with the eye, the face, the little doll face, shenanigans. Loved it. But I'm gonna come back to you, but I'm gonna jump to Clay. Clay, real quick. Tell me about you a little bit. I heard that. I guess you said earlier you were about to quit acting. So what happened with that? Look at he brought you back.
I know, from the dead. So he,
Period.
I had so my background. I grew up in a family of mostly sports and that sort of thing, but a really goofy family. So we'd always when I kind of came across improv and acting in high school, it was something that fit really well. Fell in love with it, and I went to USC for acting. It's where we have our connection to people like, Adam Ray and Troy and Belisario in the movie and stuff like that.
But yeah, Little Liars.
Yes.
There you go. Clock that. Yes. That's where I knew from.
Yep. And you and everyone else, man. Graduated and then immediately jumped into just really rocking the actor stereotype. Immediately got that restaurant job that I got way too good at, and was trying to make enough money to afford a therapist and just living the actor's dream. But it really ends. I did a lot of improv. I kind of, went to UCB and Groundlings, and while, amazing places, none of them really felt like home to me. So, I started writing my own material and, was trying to find people to help me shoot some of these ideas. And, very kind of fortuitously kind of came upon Gil and Aaron Grasso, who's also involved in our movie, just like at a bar once, just ran into Aaron and we met, and he described himself as, a filmmaker with nothing to shoot. And I was a actor with scripts who had no one to shoot them. So we said, let's get together. Let's just try something. And he brought Gil along to that shoot. We shot this, a YouTube sketch about a genie who, someone finds the lamp and has really just awful anti-genie wishes. that he has to grant. And it was super fun. Like what they were able to do with it, like was well beyond anything I could have pictured for this little, sketch that I had created. So I've been doing that for a while. And yeah, as time goes on, when you've been in the restaurant for as long as you have, and you're still trying to make ends meet and you're getting older and, you're waiting on auditions, and it became a point where I kind of decided, I want to start looking in other directions. I don't know if I could ever totally give up being a creative. I just love writing. I love this sort of thing, but definitely looking at shifting a focus. And Gil, like he kind of mentioned, was kind of like, okay, I feel that, I hear that, that makes sense. However, what if we kind of took one bigger swing, and so it's kind of where this came. We wanted to shoot something that we had access to that was going to be quote unquote easy. None of it is, but my family, kind of one of the things that kind of spurred this idea was my family has a cabin up in the Sierra Mountains, like a tiny little A-frame that my grandfather built in the 50s with his brother-in-law by hand. It's a tiny thing. I love this place so much. It is so scary there. It is so scary.
And where is this?
This is in a little, if you can call it a town, called Pinecrest. Okay. I mean, it is in the woods, y'all. And from when I was a child through, I am 40. And when I am in bed at night, I'm like, good night, everyone. And I pull up my blanket and all of a sudden my eyes are like wide. I'm like, where's the ghost? Because it's just a scary place. So we were like, let's write something that could take place there. That does so much of the work. And stuff. Oh my God, smack dab in the middle.
Oh, I couldn't do it because Evan, he lives in a shed in the woods. I couldn't do that.
I do in Mississippi. Yeah,
you'd love it, Evan. I'm telling you, and I love it too. But again, it's just when the sunlight is gone, you're kind of like my flight instinct is kicking in. Mm-hmm. It's a place that made so much sense. So we started writing that direction, but it's been this process of making Weekend has been incredible. Just like how much I didn't know about the process, and certainly on the producing side of things. And I am so lucky to be going through this process. Kind of my first time again as a producer, with not having to learn the hard lessons that Cameron and Gil have learned, and really benefiting from their knowledge. So it's been like an incredible process of just seeing it all come together, and then being on this side of it. Like people are like, what's next? What does success mean? And there's a lot of things that we hope for this movie, but what we were able to do with the budget we had, with the time we had, with the resources that we had, like that is a minor miracle. I always kind of describe this as it's impossible that we made this, but we did, and it feels like a success already. Like it's awesome. Like this ride has been so awesome. So
I love that.
I'm back in, baby.
Yeah, I'm glad. Look at you. I love it. See the light and little battery you put in his back. Look at he's just so excited.
He's setting me up for a crushing fall again, and I really appreciate it.
They say misery loves company, and I'm not going to do this alone. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Period.
But I mean, being able to go along with someone like Gil, I mean, like how unbelievably talented he is, and just watching the wave and what he was able to do with, again, my like ridiculous, like I'm high at midnight writing a sketch, and then he turns it into something that's just beyond what I could have pictured. So it was an easy yes to get involved, and I'll go as far as he takes me.
Well, the movie turned out fantastic, and it's got.
Thanks, man.
It feels like it's I think the comedy works a lot because you guys have you have such good like cultural references, but also a good blend of what feel like really quirky sort of like personal experience sort of moments that happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, about some of the specific things in the movie, like, for example, fart cops, or the most depressing version of like beer pong I've ever seen, where they're shooting a pong ball at like a shell full of some unidentifiable liquid. Like, what?
Goat skull.
Yeah, That's it. Yeah.
Also, liquid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between a liquid and a solid, actually.
That's right.
But like, so this sad version of Pong and fart cops and like the neighbor with eggs, how much of this is just crazy sketch writing, and how much of it is like pulling from your own personal experiences? Because the movie has a lot of heart, so I feel like there had to be some personal stuff here to some degree.
Oh man,
yeah.
Just that you say heart is already so gratifying. That that was the big aim, like we shot draft 16 of the script, right? So it's not like we had an idea and then we just ran out and shot it. We worked at it and we worked at it and worked at it. And like Fart Cops, for example, we always wanted the movie to feel fast paced and that you're just launched into this thing and you're going on this ride with these guys. But the idea of Fart Cops, for example, was to establish that these guys have known each other for a long, long time. And a reference, even so fleeting as to some absolutely infantile game they played as kids, is a great way to let the audience know, it's like, oh, even if these guys aren't that mature now, they've been friends since Fart Cops sounded like the dopest idea on the planet to them.
Right.
So, it's like, and then it's such a silly tool that I feel successfully like makes you see these guys as kids, even though they're 40-year-old men. And it's so dumb, which speaks to how dumb they are, but it's like, it's kind of innocuous enough that you don't, it's not like the central plot of the story. It's just a window into the history of who these guys are. Yeah. And I think, we pulled largely from the fact that we're three goofy guys. And, if you go back into, I'm sure I speak for both of you all as well. Like if you go back into your childhood, the stuff you thought was cool, the things you thought were funny were, I'm sure, heinously embarrassing now. But if you pluck one forward and make it something accessible, it really sort of taps into that shared humanity that all the audience has, which is like, oh, I remember I was also a dumb kid and I'm a thinly veiled dumb kid now.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's great that YouTube wasn't around when I was a kid, because there would be some dumb shit that I would have put out there with my friends. But I think, to speak to kind of Gil's point, I think this movie is wild, right? There's there's a lot of crazy shit that you have to kind of go along on a ride for, and I think that meant for us is the relationships have to be grounded. The relationships have to be real and believable. And I think when you're writing a relationship, it's one thing to say okay, these guys are friends. And it's another to say no, this is your almost obligatory lifelong friend. Get as specific as you can, you know what I mean? And the more you can, once that kind of very specific friendship, if you're lucky enough to have that old friend, it is somewhere between friend and family. They drive you as nuts, but it's also the first person you call when you need something. It's very specific. And that kind of balance, that kind of back and forth as this person drives me nuts and I love this dude, I think it's perfect for the chaos of the movie. And that again, the more specific I think we could get with our relationships, the more kind of it kept it grounded when it needed to be. Because otherwise this movie gets untethered and flies away. You know what I mean? You don't believe it. I think that those kind of things. Fart Cops, I think, was a Spencer McKernan, the other writer, special, which I like. I'm sorry he wasn't able to join us, but I think he's the type of person who probably plays Fart Cops with his kids now. We writing with people who share that kind of goofy, willing to slip on a banana peel type humor is fun and people gravitate towards it,
Yeah, that makes total sense. It does really ground it and kind of keep you, because you're right, it could get to a point where it's okay, I'm not really engaged anymore or immersed because it doesn't feel, I don't know, there's nothing to tether this to reality, but you guys do a good job with that. And another thing, you're talking about slipping on the banana peel type of comedy. You guys took Thomas Lennon, who, is a lead in Reno 911, has been in so much cool shit over the years. And you kind of put him, I've seen people on Letterboxd who go both ways on this. They're either mad at you for having him not talk or they're into it. And I fall into the into it camp because I feel like historically he's had so much good physical comedy, but he's always joking at the same time. And I feel like he always, I don't know, it takes a precedence, and you forced the physical comedy to the center stage here by having him not speak.
Cameron, I'll let you take this. I know you're about to say the same thing as me.
Yeah. So that it was his idea. In the original script, Hank is only a demon for little parts, and in the moment where Mimos says, "Oh, I can turn him regular," and he's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing?" In the original script, he stays that way. He's Hank, and so when they go into the allness, he's Hank and he's guiding them, and he's like, "Oh, those are and he's telling them, I don't want to give away too much. I don't know. But,
he's a blend. Like he's friendly Hank, but he's still like a demon servant of the owners. So it was like,
and definitely like when we knew we had Thomas Lennon, our instinct was to write more for him. So we had more dialogue. But Cameron, I'll let you take the rest of that.
Well, yeah. So basically, we did the first table read, and Tom afterwards, when we were just discussing notes and ideas and stuff, and of course we were like, Tom, whatever you have, we will take, because he, not only is he a prolific actor, but he's also a writer. I mean, he's written a ton of huge movies, and he created Reno 911 and all of that. So we were very excited to get his opinion and notes. And his biggest note after the reading was, I think it would be more funny and more fun to play if Hank was just a demon the whole time and struggles and is trying to communicate, but is struggling to communicate. So the guys kind of settled on this version of him as a half demon, can communicate just enough so we know what he's trying to say, but you don't really know what he's saying, and neither do we on screen. And yeah, I mean, it worked. It was a great note, and I think it does add a lot to the.
I mean, Tom said, I think it would be more fun for me as an actor, and the instant thing was like, whatever you want, man. Like whatever.
Yeah.
You want to play this whole thing as a house cat, then Hank's a house cat. Whatever you want, dude.
Yeah, I feel like you can't. I mean, if he says that, you got to go with it. The guy's prolific and he's done so much good shit.
And that's one of those things too about reviews in general is like, and I don't know, this is maybe advice for other filmmakers and stuff too. It's like, obviously reviews are important, and you it's good to read and see what people think and all that, and you can get some out of it. But at the end of the day, how many people do we have saying like, oh God, these guys, this movie sucks because they wasted Tom Lennon or because they didn't let him talk.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it's like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
That was my instant reaction when I read those reviews. I'm like, but that was like, it made it better. Like, I can't.
It's every movie.
And it makes it different. You know what I mean? Like, I think if there's Hank and he talks more, like, for sure, like, of course, like, you want to let Tom Lennon cook, if he's going to improv, say more,
exactly.
Like, let's go. Like, some of my favorite stuff on set, obviously, is the times when he's straight normal Hank and like able to like just improv with him was like a dream. Like we called cut after the first time I got to just have a back and forth with him, and I was like, Gil, can I go grab a water? And I just like walked around the corner and was like, holy shit, I just like improv with Tom Lennon. Like the guy has forgotten more about any of this than we know. So yeah, it would have been different with that Hank, and not necessarily it's better, not necessarily worse. But this version, I mean, again, just he had so much fun with it, and just like the stuff that he brought, just the physicality stuff alone was just like gets laughs every time it shows. Like, and it's awesome. It's just awesome to watch him do his thing.
Hell yeah. Well, Terrell, I know you were probably really into the like Evil Dead aspects and stuff, and I feel like I've spent a lot of time asking him about the comedy, so I'll let you ask him about some of the horror stuff for a minute here.
Yeah, the horror was great. Yeah, so are you guys horror fans? I was just wondering. Like, are you guys into horror? You got Hell's Kitchen?
Fans of everything.
Okay, what kind of horror do you like? I'll start with you, Gil. What's some of your favorites?
For me, like, I'm thinking like horror movies that absolutely scared me to my core. I mean, like, I love the ones that play with conceptual stuff. Like, I remember I saw Event Horizon as a kid by myself, and that fucked me up for a good calendar year.
That's a good one.
That was really good. I also like, weirdly, I know this is such a strange pull, but the Michael Jackson video for Thriller, the John Landis one.
Oh, classic.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason I think that one messed me up so much is, and it's something I sort of hold true for all these things. It's that pendulum swing, right? Like, Michael Jackson is so sweet with his soft voice, and his smiling is so great. And then when you see that sweet guy suddenly dancing bug-eyed with his like eyeballs almost falling out of his face and those cheekbones and that gaunt expression, it's that swing of comfort to horror that I find just so it just doubles the impact of everything. And it's like what we try to do with a comedy, like you've got this really, really funny moment and it's immediately met with a moment of sheer terror. So you feel you're in the comfortable blanket of comedy, and then you're just yanked out of that bed into just the freezing cold of abject terror. And then also in that terror moment, you suddenly yank somebody back to comedy. the laugh is so much more of a relief. It's a breath you get out of having all the muscles in your body tensed.
Love that. Since I was trying to get there, I was going to try to see if anything that you were like into inspired. So that was the perfect answer. You already answered my next question.
I think in terms of movies that inspired this one, I'd say Cabin in the Woods was massive. And look, I mean, we make no pretense
the
that
Joss
this
Whedon
is very.
one? Cabin in the Woods?
Is that Joss Whedon?
I don't think he directed. He produced it though, right? Did he direct it too?
No, I think he directed it.
Drew Goddard.
Yeah, Drew Goddard.
Oh, okay, they worked together. Oh, yeah, because Joss Whedon. Because Buffy, my favorite
amazing.
show ever. Period.
Terrell loves Buffy.
I was like, oh, cool. Yeah.
That was a really good one, and also Shaun of the Dead was a massive inspiration for this because Shaun of the Dead, I think, much like our movies, like it's very much a buddy comedy that then we just sort of subvert the tone with moments of horror. But above all else, with Shaun of the Dead, what you had was truly the biggest similarity is heart. Like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg's characters are obviously lifelong friends. The friendship has not been necessarily beneficial to either of them. So you're watching them sort of imperfectly navigate this horrific situation. You believe their shorthand, you believe the humor, it's all kind of established. But the horror moments and the emotional moments in Shaun of the Dead, they hit hard. And it's because there is this sort of like very lived in friendship, that, and the comedy is so funny and the horror moments are so shocking that all of it works sort of synergetically to sort of highlight and boost the other one.
Okay. Those are great picks. What about you, Cameron?
That makes total sense.
I mean, definitely those. I have found there's a handful of what I assume are obscure just because nobody ever talks about them, but Netflix has a ton of like fairly recent foreign horror comedies that have all come out in the last couple years that I think they just go out and find. And I watch all of them, and some of them are just brilliant. There's one called The Conference, which is like a Finnish or Swedish. And
it's
so
like a smiley face emoji monster killer thing or a slasher.
It's
I'm trying to remember.
It's like a mascot head. Of
there you go. Yeah. Okay.
He's like a construction worker or a lumberjack or something. But yeah, it's just a company retreat where it's just like 10 corporate people who go to the woods and there's a serial killer and they have to figure out who it is. And it's
my favorite. I like whodunits.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's a whodunit. It's a slasher. It's also very much, a satire of the corporate world and of the, capitalism world. And it's just really fun and really well done. And then there's another one called Girls with Balls, which is I think it's French, and it's like a college volleyball team or a college soccer team. And I
never heard of that one.
Breaks down and they're in the woods and there's some hillbilly cannibals and they have to fight them off.
Oh, shit.
But they're all like athletic, tough girls. And so, and it's just really fun and ridiculous. And that one I love. And then the other one is called Extraordinary. And it's with Will Forte. It's a British film with Will Forte.
Yeah.
And actually, when I saw it, it actually has some similarities to our movie. There's, portals and witches and demons and end of the world apocalyptic type stuff.
Evan, you ever seen that?
Well, being
I
very
haven't, but I'm aware of it. It's on my list for sure.
It's also just really fun. It's a driver's ed teacher who happens to be a medium reluctantly and ends up she wants nothing to do with it, but she ends up being in a situation where she has to save the world because nobody else can, and kind of everybody's idiots, and it's just fun. It's just fun, So I'm really into those. Like I really like finding, like obviously the like mainstream ones, Barbarian and Weapons. I love all those things too. But
Aunt Gladys, that bitch, she crazy as hell. I'm sorry.
To me, there's nothing like finding something that like not the whole world isn't talking about, which is funny because I stumbled upon Hundreds of Beavers. Sorry to go off topic. I don't know if you guys know that movie.
Hundreds of Beavers?
Yeah.
Watched with my 8-year-old earlier this year.
Not at all.
A lesbian movie? No.
Watch it. It is a wholly original, crazy thing, and it's a great story about a guy who made it for no money and self-distributed. And it's quite genius. And that's a movie that I stumbled on, thought that I was like, oh, I found this like underground movie, and it turns out that it's like a huge hit and it's made so much money. And
It's on Netflix. Hundreds
it's
of
on
Beavers.
Prime.
Prime.
It's on-
Okay, I have to look that up.
Find it. Well, it's great. It's just great. But anyways, yeah. So I guess that answers the question. Those are the movies I like.
Yeah, and you worked on Hell's Kitchen. Are you a reality TV fan? This is a side question.
Not a little bit. In fact, very begrudgingly worked on the show, and there was a lot of PAs, and it's a 24-hour show because everybody lives on set, and so the set is never stopped. So there's basically two crews. There's the overnight crew and the daytime crew. Yeah, and I think there were like 24 PAs or something. There'd be like 12 and 12 for the shifts, and every PA was there to work their way up in some department. So they were either art department or camera or audio or the production department of reality. And all of them were like, yeah, I want to produce reality. Oh, I want to be a cameraman for reality. And they'd be like, Cameron, what do you want to do for reality? And I'd be like, I'm only here for a paycheck, and I'm going to
You didn't even fake it. You're like,
no, I was very open about it.
I'm dead. Okay.
And so I did 2 seasons, and honestly, it was not a job I enjoyed particularly. But I learned a lot, and I actually made some great friends that I'm still friends with.
Okay.
And
nice.
It's funny because I've done a lot of other things. I've produced a ton of movies and a lot of other things, and like definitely it's one of the like 2 or 3 things that when I mention it, people are like so excited about it, just like you guys got excited about it. And I'm like, that was a job I had 17 years ago.
You're like, no.
I'll also tell you about the time I bussed tables at Universal Studios at a Chinese restaurant, which was equally awful.
I bet.
And to be honest, if you were like, if you had to go back to one, I'd be like, at least I got.
Yeah, which one would you?
Man, I don't know.
I didn't know they did a series or a season or 2 of Hell's Kitchen that had like comedians paired with the chefs. I saw a clip earlier. I think it was that show, but it was something with Gordon Ramsay. I think Jeff Dye or somebody shared it on Twitter, and it was like he was on it.
I will say, Gordon Ramsay's had like 20 shows, so
yes, they all blend together.
Hell's Kitchen.
I'm sorry,
but also on Hell's Kitchen and the other shows and every reality show, when they run for 20 seasons, they always find ways. They're like, oh, this week it's all NFL kickers, and next week it's all comedians or whatever. If
they can go to space, they would. Yes, I get it. There is a reality show in space, actually.
I'm sure they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Machete in space, by the way. Speaking of shit set in space, Robert Rodriguez. That was promised in the credits of the second one, and we've never gotten it. So
that's cool.
You remember that.
I do.
All right. Machete until they give us.
I wake up in a cold sweat at night thinking about that.
Yeah.
But,
all right, Clay. You're up last.
Yeah,
don't cut him off. I want to hear his inspirations.
You're going to love this.
Or if there's any other movies that you watched recently that you were into. But yeah, you're up, Clay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep brief because I know like Gil spoke to kind of the horror comedies that definitely I'm a huge fan. I mean, Cabin in the Woods, Shaun of the Dead, that's a huge rewatchable for me. I truly love those movies. I just think they're brilliant. And I think what makes them brilliant is again, what Gil kind of spoke to, kind of that back and forth of playing with when the scare comes, that imbalance, that kind of keeping you on your toes aspect of both making sure that you're honoring the horror that you're doing as well as the comedy and just respecting both. They do just the balance is awesome. As far as kind of inspirations, as far as like true like horrors, my answers are gonna be so much more boring. I feel like I haven't done deep dives, but like when I think about the horror movies that I was shown by my older brothers when I was too young to see them. I think of I pretty much hear like It's All For You, Damien in my head. And then I crawl into a ball, like things like The Omen. And one, and to speak of like kind of like found footage, and people might roll their eyes at it. But the first time I saw Blair Witch, and I had seen it first opening weekend that it came out, had an impact on me.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've never seen anything like it. And I realized kind of then that like for me, it's so much scarier and it's so much better in my opinion when you don't see the monster. You know what I mean? And Blair Witch was kind of that example of like it to me. It's so much more horrifying to not see the monster. So those are big ones. But a lot of the classics, and of course any sort of like Treehouse of Horror, Simpsons style. That's going to be big for me.
Okay, you watch those every year? Do they still do those?
Oh hell yeah! When it comes to Halloween time, I'm watching some Treehouse of Horror every time.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Period.
I'm jealous of your guys' Blair Witch experience. I'm a little too young to have gotten to see that, like, when it first came out. But for me, the found footage, like, the movie that did it for me was Paranormal Activity, which
Sure.
Oh, that too.
I saw, like, on
Yeah.
Have my
DVD
lights
alone in my
on.
room, and it made me scared of my own house, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I had gotten dragged to Blair Witch. I knew nothing of it, but my best friend in high school, his older sister had been like, "You guys are coming to see this." So I went in there completely blind. I had no idea what I was going there to see, and I mean, and it was that kind of opening weekend, and it just that left a mark.
I did though, going back to Gil's Cabin in the Woods, the way I saw that movie the first time, I had no fucking idea like what it even was. Me and my friends had, we had just smoked a bunch of spice, for a while. That was hot, the legal weed. And, we were fucking destroyed, and we wandered into a movie theater and sat down and bought a ticket to that. So it clearly was a big one for me too, because it blew my fucking mind at the end of the thing. But
So
no,
brilliant.
that's a cool list of inspirations that you guys have there. It kind of makes sense too after hearing all the movies, because you do a thing in this movie that Russell would definitely mention if he was here. Terrell can attest to this. He always talks about the mixture of highbrow and lowbrow and how it's such a hard thing to like pull off, and when you do it, it works so well. And I think it makes sense hearing your kind of inspirations and your backgrounds and stuff, that because you sort of do that in this movie. I feel like the emotional stuff that's going on is super highbrow. Like there's a lot of deep, like connection presented between these guys, and it feels very like authentic, but also it's got the lowbrow like fart cops, toilet humor type stuff too. And they kind of work very seamlessly together. And even when I was excited to see Adam Ray pop up as a big Kill Tony fan, like even when you see somebody like him pop up, it never took me out of it. Like it never, I don't know. I think that attests to what you're doing too. But how did that come about, the Adam Ray thing?
So one of the many coincidences that happened when we started this movie is that Clay went to college with Adam, but I've known Adam for almost 17 years now or so. We met doing a sketch that aired, I think, on Comedy Central called Drunks versus Highs, where they got Adam really high and me really drunk.
I'd be the drunk.
Yeah.
Period.
That would be the high.
Yep, exactly.
We competed against each other. It's really fun and funny. You can find it online. But that was the first thing we did. And then we just kind of stayed friends. We'd run into each other at the gym or at events. And Adam is just like the nicest guy and the hardest worker. And I just watched him go from, being a stand-up who made little sketches to where he's at now. And, the sky is still the limit. I mean, he's still just kind of shooting upwards. But a few years ago, I directed a little indie movie called The Bellman, and Adam, we kind of reconnected on that. He ended up auditioning and getting the lead role. So we spent 5 weeks in Arizona filming a movie together. And then since then we became really good buddies, and, we hang out and we talk about writing projects and pitching projects together. And then of course, since I've been working in stand-up specials and I work with all these comedians, and Adam knows everybody. So I'll just run into him at comedy clubs, or he'll show up to tapings, or, whatever. And so anyways, Adam's just been a buddy. And when we started doing this, I was like, oh, I think Adam would be really fun as Moo Man. And Clay is like, yeah, Adam's great. I know him too. And so, so I just reached out and he was down. And so he's
already playing 15 different characters. Why not one more, right?
And I would say like one thing too about like, it was one of our favorite kind of bits in the script. For us, it was like, let's have this in, because it was such an opportunity to bring in somebody and just be like, cook, like just like do your thing, have fun with it, and go nuts. And it seemed like a really cool opportunity to bring in an Adam Ray type person to come in and just have this quick little thing in and out, have fun, and just like add just another little kind of curveball to the movie, and just something to remember.
Absolutely. No, I loved seeing him pop up. I was excited. And I think you guys did a good, did he come up with the character? Or did you come up with the character?
No, it was our character, but then we sent it to him, and he must be the busiest human being on the planet. We sent it to him, and we sent him the script as a guide. We're like, look, just have fun, go crazy with it. And there is an uncut 10-minute version of him just playing around, and it is delightfully unhinged. And then we really just had certain beats we needed him to hit, and also because of like the nature of these YouTuber things, you can jump cut on the same shot and nobody bats an eyelid. So we always knew that as long as he hit certain plot things, he could play as much as he wanted. We could include whatever we could and cut down for runtime as needed. So it was an ideal cameo for somebody like Adam.
And also, we chose kind of the shortest, quickest version, but there's definitely a version where he goes off. I mean, he goes off the rails and is talking about all kinds of crazy shit. And it's really funny. Yeah, that'll end up on an outtakes on a DVD somewhere.
I was about to ask, so y'all gonna put out like a Blu-ray? I'm a physical media collector. I love Blu-rays, DVDs, all that good stuff. So would y'all think about putting this out? I was gonna say y'all could add that to the bonus material.
Yeah, I mean, we're all people who, I still watch blooper reels on YouTube now. I love them.
Hell yeah.
I love all the behind the stuff. And as a filmmaking nerd, I love seeing behind the scenes on things. So, we'll definitely put this stuff out. And in terms of physical media, I think that's also like a dream. And that's just going to be dictated by, demand, really. Like if people are clicking with the movie a lot, if it's doing well in its first window when it's on TVOD and people are renting it and we see that there's an appetite for it, then with joy we would make the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I guess I'm jumping ahead. But are you what is next for this? I know you guys are doing the circuit of the film festivals and all that good stuff, but what's next for this?
I think we are probably looking at a April-ish release for the movie, which will give us enough time to run sort of a good marketing campaign. I think we're going to do a small tour of theaters in just a couple of cities and go out there and meet people and try and get some sponsors for that, and actually sort of like tour the movie in theaters to really just to the audience that wants to see it, rather than sort of putting up billboards in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska, and just hoping for the best. So I think we're going to tour the movie a bit and then run our marketing campaign as hard as we can leading up to a release around mid-April. That's the idea right now, and probably leaning towards self-distribution just because the tools are available in a way that they've never been available before. And a lot of the decisions in this movie were born out of the hard experiences Cameron and I had of a lot of low-end distributors. They want to snap up your movie, double their money up front, and then you'll never see a penny. And also you're beholden to their marketing, and you can't expect these people to care about your movie the way you care because they've got infinity titles they're trying to sell. So I think we're going to keep our hands on it and run it ourselves and make sure that every human being who could possibly enjoy this movie is shown it and finds a way to watch it and enjoy it.
And I feel like we see that shift happening more and more with like independent movies where people are doing distribution themselves. And I feel like only good is coming from it. Like I feel like the movies are getting into, I don't know, the right hands more, because I mean, even if the distributor does get more eyes on it immediately, it's probably not the target audience always, it's a bunch
eyes.
of people. Exactly.
It's just people see it. But like, we're all going on YouTube, and YouTube knows exactly what you want to see. So if we pay an ad to put it on YouTube, it's going to find the exact people. We reference all the movies that are referenced, like on this call, that a bunch of movies have been referenced that sort of vaguely point to our film, and you can find your audience. I mean, we're living in an era where they're scraping all our data and they know exactly how to advertise to us. One benefit of it is, occasionally I get advertised some cool pair of shoes on Instagram that I do actually want. So we want to do that with a movie, and actually like every now and again, as you're sifting through infinity adverts, you're hopefully going to see this movie and be like, oh shit, that is actually a movie I'd like to watch. And we're going to target those people and spend our limited resources doing just that, just really finding the people who want to see this movie.
I mean, I think that's the move. I'm close to being done with my first feature, and that's kind of at least my game plan for now with it as well, is just to try to kind of do my own thing.
Happy to share our findings with you when the time comes and let you know what worked and what didn't work.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you something, Gil. I was going to tell you this privately, but might as well tell the world too.
Oh, we got some tea.
Oh my god!
Oh, I love
All
it.
right.
Breaking news.
A movie that I produced a couple years ago. It was on Netflix for a couple years, and it just got released on Canopy. And it's a movie where myself and the filmmaker, we did not hold on to the rights and put ourselves in a position to maximize the money we're making. So we're kind of at the whim of our distributor and how much money they feel like giving us. But I recommended, like, what if we try this kind of self-distribution thing? And the director went on Reddit and just started like finding some forums that were similar to the movie and posting things. And there's been a ton of interaction already, and people have been reaching out requesting like how to see the movie or how to support or whatever, just from like one day's worth of putting up a couple of posts.
Oh,
so
wow.
Hell yeah.
She's like, tell Gil it works. Tell Gil it works.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, Gil knows it works, but
Period.
Well, that's wild to hear too, because it's sat on, you said Netflix too. That's a huge.
It was on Netflix, which is great. And that was like the ideal thing, because when people, we post about it, people ask about it, meetings.
And what's the movie?
It's called Definition Please, and it's on
Definition
Canopy.
Please. Oh, I'm going to look that up. Can you write that down, Evan?
It's a small indie drama. That's for another podcast, I guess. But
yeah, I got you. Yeah. I don't want to get too deep into that. Okay, cool.
There it is.
Let's see. Okay, cool. Thanks for pulling that up,
spelling bee
Evan.
champ. I personally was a spelling bee champ as a child,
Oh,
so
Lord.
I'm in.
No way.
I'm
Well,
in.
He was. Don't he look like one? I'm just playing.
Sujata, who's also actually in our movie, she plays Jessica, the heartbroken girlfriend, or Clay's.
Yeah.
And
angry is
yes,
maybe a more apt.
Angry, frustrated. She gets her own movie. But yeah, she is Indian and was talking about how every spelling bee champion is Indian. And then she watched kind of a Where Are They Now? And every single one of them from the last 30 years went on to become like the head of NASA or the head of MIT. All these, there's like a
What happened
Here I am in a fucking shed
in the
smoking
dark
weed in Mississippi, dude.
Well,
Oh my god!
Literally, that's why she wrote the movie. She goes, well, what if we write a story about a little girl who wins the National Spelling Bee and then just kind of peaked at 9 and now as an adult is still living at home with her mom.
That's Evan's life.
Oh,
You
shit.
speak. We gotta watch this, Evan.
You gotta watch the movie.
Get ready for a sequel.
We
Hit
gotta
me
have
up.
a watch party. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch this. I'm excited now. But no, that's great to hear too that you're getting maybe more traction even after just hitting up a couple Reddit forums than you did with it being on fucking Netflix.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
So I'll try that. The Weekend at the End of the World. That movie is fun as hell, and y'all are great.
Yeah.
But I want to know, before y'all go, if there's any like behind the scenes bloopers or behind the scenes stuff that y'all did. Did y'all play pranks on each other? Like, what's some fun shit that happened on this set that y'all could share with the listeners and us? Because I want to hear something good.
Well, I can tell you one. If you notice, Clay spends about 90% of the movie just absolutely covered in blood.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just blood splatter, but for a good chunk of it, I mean, he is caked in blood. And we were shooting outside in the woods, and the scenes where we're in the Allness, where we were shooting in woods, and then the scenes where we were in the house, where Clay has a lot of blood on him a lot. It wasn't the woods, but when you stepped outside, there was a bee farm, and in both the woods and in a place that has a bee farm, there are lots of bees.
Oh my god! Were you about to get my girl?
Guess what bees really like?
What? Sweet
Oh,
shit.
man.
What they like? They like
blood.
blood.
After that
Fake
corn syrup fake blood on
Fake
you.
blood is mostly corn syrup, and so Clay either couldn't go outside, or he would just be outside, and the bees would just be there, and it just kind of became a
I
thing
became
where he
one
was like-
with the bees.
Yeah, he just
I was
Did you
gonna
get
say,
stung?
Did you learn to be still? Because if Jackass taught me anything, it's that you shouldn't freak out when bees are around.
Yeah,
you should be still.
again, it's you have either a fight or flight response, and mine was actually it was flight, but I was so paralyzed with fear, I just was still. But yeah, I mean, it's whenever you're in a scene, then when you have to shoot a scene in which you're supposed to be like scared or nervous or on edge, like honestly, like a little acting hack for you little actors out there who want to be good, just surround yourself with fucking bees before you do it. You'll be scared, like you'll be afraid in those scenes. So
Yeah.
I hope you had a Tony Todd clause in there where you got like an extra 10 grand every time one stung you, you know?
Oh God! No.
That's too sizable chunk of our budget.
Gil would give me like someone's half drinking Capri Sun.
Oh, damn! It was just funny because like Clay would be like miserable because he's got all the shit on him. Plus, there's bees. Plus, he's like hungry or thirsty but can't really eat or drink because he doesn't want to get blood all over. It's just not worth the like effort to figure it out. So he would just kind of be standing there miserable, and then he would just be like, I wrote this. Like I could have chosen to not be blood, but I chose to be blood. This is my fault.
I look around to see who to blame, and then eventually my head would just turn right back to me and be like, well, I did this to myself. So.
And it's how we started shooting the movie. We started with all the scenes in the illness, so it was a rough landing.
Yeah.
So that was all outside. That does kind of bring to mind a question I didn't ask: is the effects where the like world around them there looks fucking insane. So that's interesting. I just assumed a lot of that was green screen, but that's cool that you actually shot that.
No, it was all shot in the woods, and then there's elements. Obviously, I doctored when I camera tracked a plane and I put 3D objects that just floated around, and I would take out the sky and put planets and all sorts of weird, goofy stuff in there. But by and large, what I ended up doing for the illness is I would roto out the guys, and then I would affect the background. And it's really just like, I don't know how nerdy to get here, but like I'm basically just like sliding parameters on a combination of different effects that makes things sort of swirl and change their color hue and distort. And then I have them on top. And, this movie was only going to be able to happen if, with some idiot like me who's going to do the VFX. But there was a lot of times where I was doing the VFX afterwards where I was like, yeah, I really could have used a green screen here. I mean, there's no way in hell we could have done it if we actually had to set up a green screen. But cutting out somebody's messed up, dirty, muddy hair against an out of focus forest.
I bet keyframing that was a fucking nightmare. Like
it was. I mean, it's like the one thing we have going for us these days is the technology is getting better and better. And so the roto brush and After Effects is pretty damn good. There isn't a single shot where I didn't have to go through frame by frame and be like, okay, no, that's actually his ear. No, that's not a bush, all that kind of stuff. But, all things considered,
it looks great.
We shot this movie straddling September and October, and VFX was done by February. It was a lot, but this film was meticulously planned. I mean, like really to the degree that I did 3D scans of locations and brought them into Blender, and I animated the shots with these really horrifying 3D models to represent Clay and Cameron. So like I had the movie kind of shot.
Yeah, 3D storyboarding is wild. That's a lot of like intensive planning. That's crazy.
But it's also like, we shot the whole movie in 12 days. We never went into overtime.
Wow. Okay.
Never went into overtime. Didn't have the budget to do more days. It was already stretched so thin. So it really was like the one thing that didn't cost a ton of money was, me shaving days off my life, just planning as meticulously as I could. So that's what I did. I made sure. And it's also like one of the things as well, when you're working with the crew, you kind of, it's one of like the unspoken agreements of, you feed them as best you can, but also you want to know that everybody is marching to a unified vision. They want to know that the people they're working with have thought these things out. Like I've lost count of how many times I've shown up for work on a set, and the director who you hope would have direction is just sort of like, so how should we shoot this today? Be like, you should have figured that out before we showed up. So it's
that's wild.
So I try to do right by the team by being like, look, there's always compromise, there's always changes, things are modular on the day, but there was always very clear marching orders based in reality, and oftentimes based on 3D accurate scans of the location we were in. So everybody could kind of watch the movie before the movie existed.
Wow. Damn. Okay, you planned.
That makes sense that it looks so good.
Plan. Yeah. That was great. Okay, and the movie looked great. It didn't look like you keep saying all this. Didn't have this budget and all this stuff. It looked great. I don't know. You did a good
Yeah,
job.
absolutely.
You guys did great.
That's all our teams. That's our, my cinematographer I've worked with for 15 years. My editor, she edited my last movie with me, and these are collaborators who I trust, and they're great at their craft. Production designer Stephanie Reese did an incredible job. Megan Lynn, our one person costume department, did miracles, and Brenna and Lee, our makeup special effects team. Like these are all people who showed up, realized there's a bunch of passionate people trying to flex as hard as they can, and that's really intoxicating for somebody who works in film to be like, oh, we're all here to play and do the best we possibly can in the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the movie turned out great, and I hope that when it comes out, you're able to get enough return on it that maybe next time if Clay gets stung by a bee, you could get like a full Gatorade instead of half of the Capri Sun.
That'd be a real blessing.
Not Gatorade. That's the step up. Gatorade.
Don't put crazy ideas in Clay's hands.
No, Gil, listen to the man. He's making sense.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, guys. It means a lot to spread awareness.
Yeah, for sure. Before you guys go, though, I want you guys all to like plug yourself or where they could find any updates on the movie or what you guys are up to, socials, whatever you guys want to do. If you guys want to plug that.
I think, the main one is our Instagram handle is, unfortunately, it is Weekend at the End of the World as one big word.
Straight to the point.
And that's gonna have all the major updates and clips and BTS and all that stuff. And, I'm going to be making infinite assets. We have a great marketing team with us who are also going to be making a ton of stuff. And we have the TikTok handle. We just haven't started that yet. But I think TikTok and Instagram are going to be the main places to keep up to date with it.
Cool. We'll put both of those in the description. And if you guys want to plug your personal ones too, we'll put all those down there for everyone to go follow.
Yeah, if you guys want to see where Gil and I started, you look up Arguably Funny on YouTube and see some real weird sketches on
Hell
there.
yeah.
Get on there.
Watch those. Okay, perfect. Okay. And what about you, Cameron? Anything or just?
My Instagram is Cam Fife, and I have a movie that I'm hoping to shoot next year, but it's not definite. So I guess we'll wait. But I've got some other little movies that if you search me, you can find in various places, and comedy specials.
You stay cooking. You be busy. I could tell.
Yeah. Some good ones. Bill Burr on Hulu, Drop Dead Years, and Mo Amer on Netflix, Wild World.
Okay.
Those are two specials I'm very proud of. That are, I think, are really great.
Hell yeah. I haven't seen either of those. I'm going to have to check
Me
those
neither.
out.
Yeah.
We had to watch. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Well,
guys, thanks
again
for joining us. This was great.
Yeah, thank you for having us,
Appreciate
guys.
y'all. And
Awesome.
everybody listening, go check out Weekend at the End of the World as soon as you can. This thing, it's got the juice.
Oh, yeah. Let us know what you think. That movie's great. All right, y'all.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Footage Foreplay. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review, sharing it with a friend, or simply hitting like. These small gestures are a great free way to support this mayhem, and if you find some footage we should be fondling, email us at footageforeplay@gmail.com. Check back every Tuesday and Thursday for new episodes, and remember, don't skip the foreplay.